Hello, my name is Mae Whittick. Welcome to HER Conversations, Tools for the Awakening Woman. HER is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. This is the optimal state to embody in order to attract our highest desires. Who is the awakening woman? She is a woman who's seeking a greater possibility in her reality and looking for solutions. She knows being awakened is not a lofty ideal, but a necessity. If she can transform herself, she can change the world. Her conversations will introduce you to talented women who will speak to your spirituality, sensuality, and soul. They share their stories and explain how they are in service to the world. So let their words and these conversations embolden and inspire you. My guest on this week's Her Conversations is psychic and spiritual medium Andrea Daniel. Through her company, Andrea's Healing Hand of Light, she provides channeling, tarot reading and guidance services. During our conversation, she shares her insights about what is really happening on the planet right now, how distraction and division are being used to weaken the ascension of humanity, and what we can do to heal and not fall into fear. So as always, I begin by asking my guests, HER is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. When do you feel you're most HER?
I feel like I am most HER when I am healing somebody, and as I'm channeling that person and I'm seeing that debris, that negative debris come off of them and go into its place, it's back to its place of darkness, and I can see that white light shining over my client or patient, so to speak. That's when I really feel that I'm HER in doing my full life purpose.
Thank you so much. And just before we really get into speaking today, I just want to find out a little bit more about your background. Andrea, where did you come from in terms of when did you really tap into your gifts and know that this was the work that you were here to do?
I grew up with both my parents. And a younger sister and an older brother and another older brother. Yeah. Anyway, from a very young age, we were forced to go to Sunday school because that back then, the Windrush generation were raised and brought the way they were raised onto us. And so I went to Sunday school every weekend, every Sunday, in Sunday best clothes. And I learned about God. But at that time, I was just young and being spoon-fed, into what has been tradition for many, many years throughout my family, both sides of my family. Anyway, I realised that I was different while I was always around other people at school and stuff like that. I'd always feel sensations and I'd always feel and hear frequency in my ears and things like that. And I'd tell my mother, but she'd never understand what it is that I'm trying to say because it was hard to put into words, okay? So off I went into my teens. And then I got to my 20s and I started to study media studies. And I first learned about semiotics and the deeper side of the media. I then carried on learning and started looking for these signs everywhere, which I then realized they were absolutely everywhere. Okay. I then realized that I could manifest something by thought. I'd think about something and it would happen, and I would often think about someone and then I'd see them the next day or something like that. This went on until I got to about 30, in my 30s. I went to my cousin's baptism. While I was there, I was asked if I wanted to be baptized. At the time, I said, no, I'm not ready, because I had my own relationship with God. So I didn't see the need. Anyway, I allowed them to talk me into it. I felt compelled to do it. So I did it. I got baptized. And when I got out of that water, it was like Andrea was born. Okay, so I started to feel things that I felt before, but stronger. I started to see things visually, like a mini movie while I'm awake. And I was quite scary at first. The ministers then told me that I had these gifts that were very unique, and I was basically like a hand-picked child of God. I didn't quite know how to take that because I was just me, and I still am just me. But with that, I said, okay, I'm going to just have to wait it out. If it's there, like they say it is, it will come. So off I went off into Andrea's world and started to learn the Bible, the scriptures and stuff like that, to a point where I know them all off by heart. I then, as I got deeper into the Bible, I realized that a lot of the scripture wasn't quite adding up. There was bits that didn't make sense, and then I got told use your intuition, which I did anyway. But I couldn't understand why something so precious was so difficult to understand, and you had to make your own metaphors and your own assumptions to the meaning, you know. And I was told just have faith, just believe, and it's like no, Andrew's not like that. At the end of the day, I only believe what I can see. I need the proven document or thing for me to believe. I can't just believe in something that's invisible, you know. So off I went digging. So I started digging in through the Bible scriptures, and I started to do some really deep research. This then took me through to the names not being real, the things that took place wasn't right. I was asking a lot of questions. So I went back to my minister and I was told, yes, you were right. Yes. And I was quite upset because it's like, why are you not teaching me this? Reason is because they can't, because church is a 501c3, which is governed by the government. Right? It's owned by the government. It is a non-profit organization. It's a business. So everyone's hands are tied in terms of teaching the truth. So you have to go looking for it yourself. So I did. I then found out the true names and I started walking as a Hebrew. While I started walking as a Hebrew, I was still attending church in the earliest stages. And I got declared a prophetess and a healer in the church. I kept studying, and as I went deeper into my studies, I heard God's voice, and I realized that I was always hearing God's voice. But this is what it was. This was the voice of the Most High, the Infinite One, the Source. So I kept being led by just that voice. I then decided it wasn't a good idea for me to go to church because I was now hearing this infinite, powerful voice, which was enough for me to build a relationship with. So I did that. I was then led by the Most High to go to the city of Los Angeles, which is Los Angeles. I didn't know why I was going. I was just going with the Spirit. So I got there and ended up spending 2 years there with my auntie. And she was the only one in my family that received what I was saying at that time and said, there's only one creator. So I'm fine with what you're saying and I agree totally with what you're saying. So I spent lots of time there. While I was there, I was healing a lot of people. I managed to heal fluid on the lungs, a numerous amount of illnesses. I then got taught by the Most High to travel into different realms. I was then going into the realm where people haven't quite passed yet, but they were stuck. So I was there to instruct them whether to go up to the light or whether to come back into the physical body. So I did that a few times and was able to tell people they're going to be okay. just hold on, they're going to be okay. And this, lo and behold, I would heal them and they would wake up out of the comas and things. So I then realized what they were saying to me at the church and what I was hearing from the Most High was correct. I then got led to Hinduism. I can't tell you how I got there. I was walking in the spirit. So I just got there and everyone was like, have you turned into a Hindu? And I was like, I'm everything. The Most High is everything. There is no such thing as religion. He's everywhere. And the same voice I was hearing as a Hebrew, and as a Christian, I'm still hearing that same voice here in Hinduism. And so I learned the whole of Sanskrit. I studied Islam. I learned all of the Book of Islam, the Quran, and what I realized was that the Most High was taking me through everything so that he would be able to show me himself or herself, because we don't know. It's not a man. It's a God is everything. So, he wanted me. They all wanted me to see that he was everywhere. She was everywhere. The source is everywhere, and it's the same voice, Andrea. It doesn't matter where you go, what you follow. Allah, Yahuwah, Yahweh, Jesus. All of this there's only one. There's only one. So I then began to walk as I was then left to Hinduism. I was then taken out of Hinduism by the all and started and led into doing what I do today, which is just spiritualism. And sharing what I have with the whole entire world and helping people to reach their higher self and explaining to people all the things that I have experienced. So there isn't anything that I haven't experienced. So I'm able to reach out to absolutely everybody in every situation. And I now realize that that's what the Most High was doing all along. I have been through absolutely everything. And I now know, and I embrace those things, even though I had to heal myself from those things. I now find those things so valuable to who I am today. I'm able to reach out, and that's amazing, very rewarding.
Thank you for sharing that. Such a testimony. And like you're saying, like you've been through so much and you have so many experiences, and I can completely resonate with that as well. We talked a little bit before we turned the mic on, but it's all of those experiences, as tough as they were and have been, just like put an extra layer of resilience and galvanization on you. And it means that when you meet with people and they go, oh, I'm going through this, you can talk from a position of like, you know what, I went through that as well. Yes. As opposed to just being, sympathetic. You're in there, you empathize, you know what it felt like to be in there on a day-and-day basis. And then you realize actually that's something to be totally grateful for, because those experiences have meant that you're unshakable. There's like, you're just thinking, I don't know what it is that can come get me now. I really do not, because I've been there and many times had to work my way out of it on my own. And and when you've done that, then you're like, come try it. Really do. Because I know that I have the strength and I've experienced it. And one thing I wanted to really talk to you about as well, there's so much that is happening in the world right now that people may not be aware of, because of, obviously, most people are getting their information from very limited sources, but these limited sources kind of take up so much space and come with so much validity, it would seem, that everyone's entitled to believe them and won't even question the fact that what is being presented to them is going to be a version of the truth or a version of events that isn't true, set up to lead them in a particular way. I mean, we've seen the situation with the pandemic, which, you know, people are slowly waking up to what the truth may be around that, and some will admit, some are ready to take it on board, some are not. You mean, you can kind of tell who's walking down the street with the masks and the gloves will give you an indication as to where people are with their mind.
Yeah.
But so we have that. But one thing I really, you know, I think we should definitely touch on is just talking about the timing, because nothing is random about the events surrounding George Floyd.
Okay.
And what that created, particularly in the Black community, especially when we're talking about healing and wounds and truth. And I'll let you have the mic.
Okay. Okay, right. So basically, we have all globally gone through the pandemic. Okay. Now, what people don't realize is that the virus existed maybe like 10, 15 years ago, and it is the flu. It's just another version of the flu. But this is different. This is a mixture, is actually, because I've done my research, a man-made virus. Yes, I said it is a man-made virus, and it consists of SARS and the influenza and the coronavirus. There's 3 elements in there. I've actually researched and found the pattern for this and how it was made and all of that. Okay, it's all there on the internet to be found if you're interested in finding it. Okay, so that is what we went through. This was invented and brought out at this particular time, right, as a distraction. All right, and it is a distraction. The reason why it's a distraction is because there's a lot of things going on underground, literally, and behind the scenes, which is not on our regular media television. The television is a square thing with a screen with images, stories of things that they want you to know and things that will lose you, okay, in the knowing. So that's why it's called tell-lie-vision, all right? Now, there's a lot of words that are like that, but we'll go back to that again a bit later, Carol. Now, everything that's put on the news concerning the COVID-19 has been lies, okay? I'm not going to say there wasn't a virus. There is, as I said, a man-made virus, but those figures that they were releasing are incorrect. They were way too high. How do I know? I'm a medium. I'm a psychic medium. People were in the hospitals. They weren't full. Actually, staff, doctors and nurses were being sent home because there was little for them to do. That's here in England. In America, there's stories out there of doctors and nurses that have been saying that they watched people die. They were being negligent with these patients. So basically, if you went to hospital, you basically wouldn't come out of there. Why? Because of numbers. In this time bracket, 3 months, they actually said it would be 3 months. Who knows how long a pandemic is going to last? So this was a 3-month plan, okay, to get things done, which I think a lot of you know would be the rolling out of the 5G towers. Now, the towers carry a 60 kilohertz frequency, which is seriously deadly to the human body, okay? It ruins the DNA in the human body and the cells, and you basically you bleed out. People can't breathe. People have random blood coming through their noses and their ears. I've heard so many stories of this happening, and a lot of people have died. While these towers have been rolled out, there's actually been a government war, all right, going on between light and dark forces. And I will happily say that the light forces are winning. Trump has done some great things. Yes, I said it, Trump is of light force, okay? You do your research, guys. He's of light force. All right. Now, there were children that were being held in very dark places, that were being mistreated, put through fear, and seriously sadistically been brutalized. All right. Trump went and rescued all these children, and he has them on a ship, and he's healing them. Okay. Trump has invested a lot of money in medibeds, so that anything that's wrong with the human body will be cured once a human body lays on this medibed. Okay, there's a lot of things that he is doing that is good for the human race, but you must do your research. When people are saying, "Oh, Trump said this, Trump said that," a lot of what he said has been edited. This is why he says fake news, the media, this, that. He has things that he says because he's been so set up for such a long time. Nobody believed him, but you know what? He fought through, and he's still fighting through for humanity. And I know it sounds crazy, but all will be revealed in its own time.
And I think as well, to just jump in there as well, is because I believed the Trump narrative for a very long time. I got swept along with it, because I wasn't paying that much attention to the news. So the information that I had about him was based on snippets here, things on social media, and of course they're going to be presenting the worst possible version of him. And I bought it. I probably even mentioned it on previous episodes, and I put my hands up. I bought the lie. And then until I started to really do my research and to kind of ask myself certain questions, it's like, why do I dislike this man so much? I'm like, I need to actually work out why. Because and I think this is one of the questions that we need to ask ourselves about everything that we see is, like, two questions is like, why and where's the money? So you know, those two things will start to push you towards what the reality of the situation may be. And I had to do a 180. I had to do a completely 180 on the whole situation and go, oh my God, I got played into believing that light was dark and dark was light. But anyway,
exactly the same. It's strange, actually. No, I'll take that back. When he first got elected, I was in LA at the time, and I remember my guides telling me, he's good. Feast of Trumpets. His name is Trump, the Feast of Trumpets. He is good. And I remember saying to my auntie and my cousin, he's good. The Feast of Trumpets is a Pentecostal festival, but it's also a Hebrew one on the menorah. It's one of the feasts. Okay, so it's a good thing. It's a very powerful thing, spiritual thing, and I knew that he was good. But what happened, they portrayed him for so long, so badly, and everyone around me was like, no, he's racist, no, he's this, no, he's that, no, he's that. I mean, if you keep hearing that enough, inside me is telling me, no, he's good. But the mind is telling me, saying, so I kind of got pulled in, but deep down inside, I always knew that he was good. Was I ready to keep saying it? Probably not, because everyone was just so against him and so angry with him, and a lot of people still are. So they
call it TDS, don't they? And I mean, it's literally like Pavlov's dog thing. And you've got to think, if you have such an immediate visceral reaction to something, then it's not normal. But intelligent, worldly people, you only have to say his name and they will explode. And you have to then look at yourself and go, if I can have such a reaction to something, why is it reacting that? There's a part of me that's not clicking on that as well. Why it's it's like you ring a bell and suddenly the dog's salivating. It's like we've been programmed. And for anybody who really wants to kind of look into the way that as a majority the society has been programmed against him, and you use a mobile phone, I urge you to look into a guy called Cyrus A. Parser, who is the AI guy who's part of AI organization, and he will explain how your use of your technology has tailored your mindset to have a physical reaction. Because if you think that you're not, we're all addicted, and that we're programmed into these things, and our movements and our likes and dislikes and searches and all the thing are all recorded. Even if you check the boxes, your stuff is being recorded, and they'll be able to steer you into a particular direction. And it's powerful stuff, and it's like outside of what's happening with towers and frequencies. And when we get switched on and go into that level of the story that is set up for us, it's already happening already. So it's before we get, whatever's going to carry on.
Yeah. It's a consistent programming. Even if you watch a TV show, the frequency in the music, the way it starts, programmed. That's why they're called programs, because they are programs. And the phone, you were just talking about the phone and how it reserves all of your information, all of your searches. I know that I've said a word, gone in my emails, lo and behold, I've got an email from such and such and such explaining to me about the word, whatever it is that I just said. And I think, hey, like, the phone's listening. Yeah, the phone's listening. Everything's listening. The TV, the laptop, Alexa. There's cameras in there. Everything is being monitored. Your shopping is being monitored, you're spending, I'm sure everyone knows the fact that every time you use your card, it's being monitored.
Even if you look at something, because I remember going to when the lockdown first happened, I needed a particular hair thing, and all of the like Afro-Caribbean hair shops were closed down because they were non-essential. It's like, what are you telling a black woman?
Yeah, right.
So the only place that I could get this thing was at Boots. And it was a particular brand of like hair care thing, and I had to like walk far to get to Boots and everything. And in the end, I found another one, and I only like went in the vicinity of this product. But then when I was looking on my Instagram later, I was being shown ads for that particular brand of hair care, and I'm like, well, wow. And it's only because I'm like aware of things now. It's like, because I know I don't follow them on Instagram. I didn't even say the thing out loud. I was on my own shopping, so I didn't even say it out loud. I looked at it on the shelf.
Yeah, they know.
So it's there. It's there.
It's just ludicrous. They know absolutely everything. And, we should mention about, they've put something in our phones. Apparently they can call you and they can isolate you. They can put you into isolation. And that
depends on one of your upgrades, doesn't it? Really, because I've stopped my upgrades.
So did I.
Yeah, because I knew that one of the upgrades had it.
Yes,
and I've paused my upgrade.
Yeah, and then what they do is start making the phone malfunction slightly because we haven't upgraded. But we can't. We mustn't upgrade because you're being watched. And I mean, who wants to be watched even more than what we're already being watched? Right? Come on, like, we've got some human rights. People don't realize that, our rights, we have a lot of say in our rights, but it has to come collectively, and, we can't just, one person can't do the work on their own. Everyone has to come together, and that's what they don't want. And when I say they, I mean the elite. I mean the hierarchy, the people that run the world, the banks. I'm talking about the cabal. They don't want unity. They want division, and they will go to all lengths to destroy and divide so they can divide and conquer. It is so important that we don't fall into that trap.
But it's happened. Like, look at the trap that got laid for us 2 weeks ago.
Yes. So now the murder of George Floyd. For me, instantly, my guides tell me. So for me, instant red flag. I looked at the video maybe, I don't know, probably 30 times. And no, I'm not buying it. You know, Black Lives Matter is funded by, if people can just do their research, is funded by George Soros. He himself said he doesn't care about humanity. He said it. You can find him saying it on YouTube, okay? So he funded it, and everyone's going around saying Black Lives Matter. Every life matters. Every life matters. All lives matters. You know, Black lives can't matter if every life doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? So that again is divide and conquer. That was the setup. That is to me, that's what my guides tell me. The George Floyd story, he's not dead. It's a setup, it's planned, okay? And it's to divide and conquer black against white. That's what they wanted. The old regime that they've been using for as many years as we know to divide and conquer racism. Racism is made up by them. It's an inventory, right, that has worked up until now. We need to come together and not allow that old, very old, invented thing, right, weak thing to work anymore. It cannot work anymore, you know. And black people, as a black woman, myself, of course, we've been through a lot. Of course, I've experienced racism. Of course, I feel like I've not been treated equal at times. But why? Always go for the whys. Go dig deeper, deeper, deeper. Where did it come from? You know, I have friends from all different nationalities, all around the world, all different colours, you know. And at the end of the day, right, where did it come from? Right? It's programs again. They programmed people to dislike other people, their brothers and sisters, because that's what we are, because of the colour of their skin. Yeah. You know, and we need to understand that that's weak. It's not strong, it's weak. We need to show them that they're weak by standing together and not allowing it to work.
And this one is probably the hardest one at the moment. The hardest one at the moment for most people to comprehend. Because when the thing played out, and I didn't even know whether the event took place or not, but it just seemed so timely. It was just like, it was almost like clockwork. And when you, and because I've been looking at things and really researching and trying to understand what's going on, and you can never truly understand a criminal mind, but they kind of work in patterns, you know?
Yes, they do.
And you can see a pattern evolving, and it just came at a particular time where you're just like, man, you know, it's like, wow, you know, and then the fallout from it has then, of course, reignited that deep, traumatic, ancestral wound that racism has created within us. And it's a trigger point again. It's a trigger point of all you have to do is see a black man being harmed by a white person, but even more so a white policeman. That's just going to get, because the thing that didn't sit right with me was the way that the information came to me about this event. And the way that I learnt about it was through Instagram.
I saw it on Facebook.
It came through Instagram, and it flooded my timeline like crazy. It was like, I'm like, this is just being pushed on me, and I understand events, you know, will kind of jump on and become viral. But there was just something that didn't feel right. And I spend a lot of time online. I work online. I do, you know, so I can feel different like movements and when certain things happen. And it just seemed like it was really being pushed. And to be honest, I didn't really watch the video because I saw what it was, and I'm like, okay. And then something about me just went, because of certain events that had happened previously in that week, that if you don't really follow American politics, you may not be aware of. It just seemed that this was like the perfect situation to mop up what had gone down, like a few days before, what had been said, you know, in terms of politics, people, you know.
Yeah.
And just in kind of looking at the way that and the thing is, what I've found is the more that I keep looking to try and solidify the fact that this is a factual thing, that I'm not finding anything to it. Like, the more I try and look for the truth that this is a truth, the more I'm finding that this is a falsity. Just learning about the way that things work is another. If people, because I understand, if you're listening to this, it's like, this seems like really weighty and heavy, but I'm getting to the point that sometimes truth needs to be discussed.
We need to. Yes.
And the first time you hear it, it's going to go up against all of your biases. It's like, this is like, what are you saying, Carol? Where are you coming from? Like, but it's like urging people to, like, maybe this is a possibility. Take something like this on board. That the look at what it's created across the world. Look at how identical events happened in Spain and in France and Holland. Was it? There was another one that happened almost
everywhere.
I'm almost identical, and then up from nowhere, then you have peaceful protests that then gets infiltrated by rioters that are then people are saying, why are there just like blocks of bricks turning up?
I saw that.
And then again, if you look at the money, if you follow the money, if you find out, I'm not a big researcher, but I know a few people who have researched like who owns the bricks. If you look at the company that owns the bricks, and then managed to deploy the bricks all over America at the same time. If you look at the organizations or the companies that were getting looted more so than others, and where they're being insured for, or where they're earned for as well, who owns those companies, it's a play, and it sounds fantastical to look at this thing and go like, no one would ever do something so terrible. But unfortunately, this is the world that we're seeing, and it may feel like a dark thing, but it's actually, the darkness is rising for us to actually see it, encounter it, and then be able to transmute it. And we have to understand that we do have the power to overcome this, but we, like you said, we have to band together. We have to see the games. We have to drop the racism story and get the programming out, white or black, because I've seen the anger and the hurt and the trauma it's created in black people. And I've seen the fear that it's created in white people who want to messaging me that they're too, they want to say something, but they're scared, or they don't want to offend me. It's like, we're people at the end of the day. If you see pictures of like little kids, 5, 6, 7, and you just put a black kid and a white kid together, they're going to play. They're not going to,
We all bleed. We all bleed. We all feel. And I know we have been through, but we're not the only ones. There's other races that have been through a lot. The Irish have been through a lot. There's other, every race has had a story. And with ours, I know it is very deep, because in terms of us being taken and not knowing your true identity, I understand all of that. But where do we end this? How long are we gonna? And it isn't us that are carrying it on, because we're quite happy to mix with other colours. This thing has been instigated to just go, like you said, just to nitpick at that small wound that's in us, just to turn the heat up so that we get angry. And the anger in us is serious rage. We've had enough of being treated unfairly and all that. Of course they know this. So, these bricks were put there at the protests so that everyone was kind of locked in certain areas. And so it would really kick off, A lot of the shops that were looted were not done by black protesters or protesters, period. They were protesting peacefully. It was people that were undercover, that weren't there to protest. They had other agendas, and they were the ones that were smashing. I heard that protesters were stopping them and saying, why are you doing that? Yeah. Who are you? Why are you burning down that shop? They were doing it. And protesters were also saying, we're going to get the blame. If you do that, us protesters are going to get the blame. Why are you doing it? So again, that's another red flag. There were so many red flags
And
It was
also we have,
countless.
if one thing I was asking people is if, like, what if the situation had changed, if it would have been a black policeman who'd killed a white man, or if
Yes.
it was like white on white crime or black on black crime, would it have been as viral? Would it have been a story?
No.
We wouldn't have
This
heard
was
of it.
no. I mean, okay, for an example, black and black killings, they're not on the TV every day.
And they're higher, the rates.
And the rate is higher. Okay. So why is it that this has gone I'm not saying RIP, right? Definitely serious condolences, but I don't see why one. I mean, I guess it was the tip of the iceberg, but there's been more since, as well. They're not being put on the news. They're coming out into the media, but not as big as that one. I mean, there were 3 funerals. Someone even said they saw him in the crowd. It's been said,
There's a lot of there's a lot of inconsistency in terms of, just like what is really, what I really want people to think about is, like, we're allowing our trauma and our pain to be weaponized. So in order to overcome this, we need to look at the wound that we need to heal. And maybe this is, I don't know, because I don't know. We're trying to work it out. We're all trying to work it out.
Yeah.
The thing we need to do is realize that this racism thing, it is BS. At the core of it, we don't want this. This is not who we are, but it keeps getting poked all the time. And we keep intellectualizing black and white and writing books and talking and picking out things as well. It's like, maybe we just walk further and go, do you know what, I'm not going to go there again. And it doesn't mean that tomorrow it's over. It doesn't mean that tomorrow you're not going to meet someone that kind of puts a stop on you because or doesn't call you something, or that doesn't, but you've got to then look at them with compassion, I feel, and realize that they're still in the program. They don't realize that the way that they've been programmed to dislike a black person is part of the program. And they somehow need to point it out, and instead of retaliating, as much as it may hurt, is, this time, no more time. Talking about our pain consistently is not going to do it.
It's low frequency, because the thing is, we need to all reach a high frequency. Actually, what we're going through now, through talking spiritual terms, we are actually, the earth is actually rotating in 5D, okay? And we've been living in the 3D for our whole lives, basically. And we have to go through to the 4D, okay, which is chaotic, to get to 5D, which is peace, love, and light. And right now we're going through the storm to get to the calm. And actually, Donald Trump said that about 3 weeks ago. They said, how are you? And he said, going in the storm, going through the storm, is the storm before the calm, he said. And I thought, what do you mean? This was just before the George Floyd incident. It was like two days before. He said, this is the storm. It's the storm before the calm. That's what he said. And I kept that there, and I thought, what does he mean? 2 days later, that happened. I thought, So he knew he knows what's coming, because he's fighting against it. So their agendas, aren't they? These things have been planned for years. All these things have been put down on paper as agendas for years. It didn't just appear. It's all we're all walking as a part of their plan, but not anymore. It's about to end. It is about to end, people. And you know what, Carol? Going back to the George Floyd incident, while George Floyd, we were all watching all of these riots and these protests around the world go on, because they were protests in countries you never even believe. Everyone took a stand, which actually, for me, I loved it because it did show unity. It showed that their plan actually didn't really work.
Because out of it, a lot of unity came.
Yes.
You won't see those images, but you will.
Yes.
If you see the people that were posting, they were like sitting down and talking.
It was amazing.
So it's created, even though it kind of brought up the pain. I think it got to the point where, one, people have been locked down for 2-3 months already, so you're already going stir crazy. Then you come in, and then you like trigger the deepest wound possible, and everyone goes off. You know, suddenly like quarantine doesn't matter, and we're all out neck to neck, and magic, right?
Yeah, right.
Anyway, so that goes out the window. But then after a while, I think people are just like, hang on a minute, you know what I mean? It's like this doesn't make any sense. It's a nonsense in itself, and so there is a lot of people looking at each other and people being accountable in their own way, you know. And it's going to be messy, and people are going to get triggered and go, you're not doing it right. Just at least make an effort, try and do it in whatever way, and fumble through, because usually what we do, particularly when it comes to something as like triggering and as like incendiary as racism, everyone just kind of like, oh, I'll do a little bit and I'll do a thing and then I'll go back and we will pretend it's gone. It's like, no, we need to get in the muck and dirt of it right now and just clean this one out for once and for all, because like you said, moving forward things are better, but you're not going to get to that side if you don't deal with the dark. Let's speak a little bit more about Black Lives Matter and the whole situation behind that, because obviously the words sound good and everyone's really into what they feel Black Lives Matter is about and what it represents, and not fully understanding that things are not what they seem and who is really, really behind it, and you know why we should take a bit of caution, especially when we're taking up a cause or a social media hashtag or a position of things. Just speak on that for a moment.
Okay. As you know, I do my research. I get everything, mostly downloads from my guides. Black Lives Matter, the actual organisation, sounds amazing, you know, for our community to have such a strong, you know, organisation that we can stand behind, you know. But the truth of the matter is, it's not actually that straightforward, as is not many things. Black Lives Matter is actually let me change that, funded by a man called George Soros. So it's very important that everything is researched, you know, and everything, there's always something behind something, the thing, you know, and it's important to just don't be spoon-fed, you know, don't allow anyone to spoon-feed. You know, we're allowing that to happen all our lives, and it's really key now that we change this habit. The fact that this organisation, Black Lives Matter, is funded by this man, George Soros, is a very massive thing. There's a very meaningful plan behind this, and it's another way to control. And while, you know, the Black community around with banners saying Black Lives Matter, I understand it, because obviously I'm a Black woman and I get it, and we're fighting for what, you know, we deserve, actually, because what we've been through is really bad. But, you know, the race thing is just an invention created by the hierarchy. And this organisation was created for us to come up against each other in terms of colour. And it's not the case. We have a much bigger problem, and it isn't race. It really isn't. And in time, I'm actually can't wait for that to happen. All will come to light, you know. And the battle that we're actually in a spiritual war. You know, it's not a race war, it's a spiritual war. And that's what people don't understand. It's very important that people go out on their computers or their devices and they look up the name George Soros, and they will get a lot of information. It's very important.
You've got to check people's affiliations.
Yes.
Because the company you keep is always key, and it's nigh on impossible to have company of a certain caliber and not get drawn into what their mindset and their practice and their agenda is. It's nigh on impossible to do so. Another thing as well, you know, I remember on the day that on the Tuesday, how there was this real kind of move for everyone to be posting black squares on their social media, and I really felt an aversion to do that. And one, I didn't do it because everyone was doing it, so that's just like me going, I'm not going down that way. I didn't realize there was a deeper significance to the black square.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that black square, if I'm pretty sure that if we trace who invented the idea, the source will not be pure. It came across to me very ritualistic, not in a good way, in a very compromising way. Again, having the black community acting like sheep, you know. This was not invented by us. It somewhere along the line, it was put there, and then someone ran with it into the community, and next thing you know, everyone was doing that, blacking their screens. Not only that, the other bit that got to me, which was very disturbing for me actually, was the slogan, "I can't breathe." And as we know, that is what George Floyd was saying when he was being detained and arrested by the police. Now, if we look at this thing in a deeper way, right, spiritually, if you're saying, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe," you know, you're actually sending that signal out to the universe saying that you can't breathe. And, you know, everyone's lying on the floor saying they can't breathe. That energy, that collective energy going up to the universe is bad, seriously bad, because literally you're saying you're dead. And it's loads of black people doing it. Loads, not just black, every race was doing it, you know. And again, I'll say that it was beautiful. It's been beautiful to see the unity in colour standing up for, you know, what's going on with the black men being arrested and killed. So, you know, but people get up, don't lie down on the floor and say you can't breathe. Yes, you can breathe. You know, you're breathing and you're going to breathe for a long time. Don't send that signal to the universe. It's got to stop. When you say things, especially when it begins with I, you know, as in I am, you know, the infinite and the source. When you say, "I can't breathe," that's an affirmation. You know, it is an affirmation. And I just don't think people realise. And that's why, you know, I really wanted to touch on that. And
also, you know, I saw people who were protesting with "I can't breathe" written on the masks over their faces.
Right. That's bad. Very serious. Because you see the wearing of the mask. A mask is not going to stop you from catching a virus. A virus is direct contact through fluids of the body, like probably kissing, sharing the same, just like the flu, exactly the same. When we catch the flu, do we walk around with masks? No. You know, it's berserk, actually. And it's also subliminal, spiritually. You're basically walking around with a mask. It's a representation of the fact that you can't breathe and you're being silenced. because that's what you're doing. When you wear it, it's like you've got no mouth or no nose. So you can't breathe and you can't speak. Yes, you can speak. Speak up, breathe, take all that back, those affirmations. You know, cancel them and take it back. Don't do it. Can I just also, Carol, touch on the kneeling that took place? That's actually a Masonic symbol, the kneeling. And again, it's subliminal and that and ritualistic, and that signal goes up to the universe as though you're bowing down to someone. And although the meaning and the reasons why people have done it is close to their hearts, and I get it, but we got to look at the bigger picture always. You know, that is not good energy. You know, that's why I would never be doing that. You know, that I can't agree with.
With all of this going on, how can people start to work on healing themselves? Because even like you're saying, when all of this was going and we were all looking at this thing, we were being distracted from what was happening behind the scenes.
Exactly.
So, you know, that's a complete other narrative. And there's so many other things that are happening right now that are good, even though we're looking at this murderous racism, fighting and traumatic event. There are things that are actually, justice is being served behind us, even though we don't know. But yet, how do people start to work on their healing to get themselves stronger so that when the truth of all the justices that are being done start to come to light? Because it's going to be, again, that's going to be, I think, you know, when the deeper truths start to come out, racism is going to seem like a walk in the park. As crazy as that might sound, that you'll be like, man, I wish all we had to deal with was racism, as painful as that seems.
Yeah, people are in for a rude awakening because there's so much that is going to change in such a swift time. It's going to be swift. And it's even said, I think it was Cobra, he said, everyone cannot wake up and reach that frequency at the same time. It's too much. So he said that it will have to be done in stages. Some are already vibrating at a very high frequency. Some are waking up. I've noticed a lot of people that are now saying, okay, this COVID, all of a sudden, it doesn't even, it feels surreal. Did it really happen? Like, you know, hang on a minute. I think that was fake. People keep saying, it doesn't feel like it was a pandemic. It shouldn't have been a pandemic. And people are questioning. And a lot of people, I would say it's probably a good 60%. We're on about 60% of people are now saying, hang on a minute, red flag. You know, whereas before I was called crazy. You know, because we were the minority that knew and were able to tap in and pick up and research and know the truth. But now people are being pushed into it. Right? In terms of what was happening behind the scenes, right? The reason why people are in for a rude awakening is because the information that's about to come out is absolutely shocking. People need to follow something called Q, right? You know about the Q, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't even know if, because Q can be quite cryptic, and I really kind of got into understanding who stroke what or where Q, you know, there's many different philosophies of like who and what and where Q is, whether Q is like, you know, let's talk it as it, whether Q is like fully human, military, extraplanetary as well. And as fantastic as all of these things sound, we need to start also opening our mindset to the fact that we are not, as human beings, all that there is. And
of course.
And also taking on board that we're not all that there is. And all of the aliens or ETs or what are not the enemy. Get that?
They're not.
Independence Day coming to break us down as well. That is not the case. So that should anything happen, and little bits of disclosure have met the mainstream media already to be like, oh, actually we did see UFOs, so they've given you a tiny so the fact that little bits are being dripped in at a slow level,
they're doing it
showing
slow.
you is that they're just kind of like gently pouring the warm water into the cold water so that you can be sitting in the truth when it comes out. But if anything I can say to anyone is research and do not be scared. Do not fear.
Fear is the worst vibration that you can sit in. You know, and if anyone, I always say, if anyone's fearful, meditate. Just keep meditating that out. You know, a lot of meditation. There's lots that you can listen to combat fear, and just know, right? Because I know for a fact, I'm a psychic medium, and I've seen what is going on, what's coming. Okay, just know that it is of light.
Yeah.
All right, it's going to be better. I promise you, it is going to be better. Money's going to change.
Yeah.
Okay. People that are sitting there hungry, there's going to be no more of that. It's going to be more equal. Money's going to be spread out so that everyone can eat. You know, there is other species. There is extraterrestrials. There is. Are they on Earth, or do they come to Earth? Yes, they do. These things have been hidden from us for a long time. There's a lot of things that have been hidden that are actually coming out now. The information is out there if you search for it. With ETs, there's different races of ETs, aliens. It's a good idea to definitely research it. We carry, as human beings, a small percentage of reptilian in our brain. We are like a mixed species. You know, we're not the only species that's ever been on Earth. Before us, there was dinosaurs. Before that, there was, you know what I mean? So it makes sense. If you do it, if you think logically, it makes sense, you know, human, like, what is that? You know, that's what we are, human. So, you know, it's really important for everyone to be very open-minded and let that information trickle in. And if you need to take it in slowly, it's fine. But make sure, you know, that, you know, it's very important for everyone to access information. The information is out there. It is there. They're not hiding it. They're not withholding it. You can find absolutely anything you want if you search for it, you know. And right now, as we're in the 4D, the planet is in 5D, but everyone's basically in 4D. And that's why it's like this. But it is simmering down. Between now and summer of next year, we'll be seeing massive changes. There will be massive changes. Yeah.
And I was just, you know, from just knowing things that have happened on a financial level, and also then it's all about just being, what I'll say is, I think we can't imagine the possibility because our mindset has been so narrowed in terms of the view of what having a life and being a human being on planet Earth is about. You know, it's just kind of, you work, you sleep, you go on holiday, you come back and you live your life and then you drop off. But life can be so different, and the possibilities for life to be so different that we ever imagine, all of these things already exist. But we can't comprehend of it because without the things that we have, we're like, well, there's nothing, so we go into fear. But it's just that we're not able to. If you have the information, then it's something that, you know, that we can lean into. Things like, you know, imagine, you know, just go into imagination if you can't do anything else. What it would be like if there needn't be any sick people on the face of the planet. If there's a cure for everything, everything.
Yeah,
imagine if those cures existed already, and then you think, well, why do you think those cures do not exist already? What makes you think they don't exist? Because we've been told these cures have existed for anything. And it's hard, as somebody who's lost a lot of people, knowing that most of them could have been saved had these cures or sometimes medications or processes being available to them. I wouldn't have been talking about certain people in the past, you know. So that will be heart rendering for people when they realize what has been held from them. Technology that we think we have today, as good as it is, we're so behind on what is available and what is possible as well. In terms of, you know, the way that we can move around the planet, that's going to be completely revolutionized. We can't even imagine of it because it sounds like science fiction, but the way that things get dripped into our mentality, into our sphere, is through the fiction, is through the movies. And there's, you know, it's laid out there, like you said, the information is there should you choose to look at it, and it may feel scary and unbelievable, but we need to alert and educate ourselves to these things and heal ourselves of things in order for us to be able to step into that. And then when it comes to the financial situation, that's just going to blow people's minds again. You know, you can't even, because it sounds so ridiculous, because we've been brought into a slave society. We can't call it anything other than what it is, really.
Right, yeah. And the thing is, there's going to be, the 5G will be quantum. They're going to use Nikola Tesla. So there won't be none of that radiation to worry about, you know. And, you know, people that are worried about 5G, don't worry about things that are not here yet. Okay, it's not here yet. People think it is. It's here, but it's not fully active 100%. All right, but it is out there, and it's been hurting people. But you see, if they was to turn that on everywhere, could you imagine? But that's not going to happen, right? In terms of the transportation, they're building cars that will need no drivers. You know, that's how, and that's going to run on quantum as well. It's going to be amazing. Yeah, no more fuel, none of that pollution, you know.
But this technology has been around for 50, 60 years.
It has, but they never used it.
Because it's free.
Yeah, they never used it. They wanted our money. So, you know, no, let's just charge them some more money as though they haven't got enough. You know, it's like, how much more do you want, you know? What are you going to do with it, you know?
I think that's probably what's one of the most confusing things, is because we don't operate on those criminal levels. You know, and like for most people, what do you want? You want to have work that's fulfilling. You want to have a nice home, a nice family, nice friends, have the freedom to know that everything's just good and okay, and that's okay for you. That's okay. That's a nice life. That's what most people like. But then there are quote unquote people who that ain't enough. They need to have all and complete control of everything. I don't understand it. I do not get it, because I'm like, if you've got all the power, then where else is there to go? That one, it trips me out. I just don't get it. It's like, how much do you need to feel better, or what more do you need to do to feel better?
What's happened is become power. It then becomes, it's like it goes, it's the money, then it goes from the money to the power of having that amount of money. Then it's, what can I do with this amount of money? Actually, I've got everything, I'm bored. Oh, let's just create a virus. Let's control everyone. You know, that is it, really, because they're bored and they've got all the money. It's pure evil, you know, but dismantle them and they'll wish they had the normal things. They're all going to jail. They are going to jail. They're going to be named and shamed and go to jail.
And I think that's going to be as well. Again, these are things that sound like fairy tales, but, you know, history will tell. History will tell, because it's when the truth comes out and when we really, truly get to understand the way that our society has been structured, there's going to
Yes.
be a lot of heartbreak, because we've put a lot of our energy and our sovereignty into people who didn't necessarily deserve it, and they were put in positions to actually lead us astray and suppress us and keep us from our power. And learning who those individuals are, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a massive betrayal on so many different corners, you know.
Yeah, I think I worry more for the elderly people that in England, because they're about to receive a very big shock. Okay, they really are, and these are very, very, very patriotic people, you know, and it's all they've known, you know, and they're in for a rude awakening. And it's like, you know, I always felt something there, to be honest. That wasn't right. I did my research because obviously I said I know the Bible inside out. So in there, just the person that wrote that, you know, King James, you know, he was royalty, you know, and suddenly it just kind of took a turn. So without telling people too much, I'll allow people to wake up to that one slowly, because that one's going to be shocking. That's a massive one. And it's actually happening as we speak. I just wanted to also touch on the Bible. As I have explained, I grew up in the Christian church and was baptized a Pentecostal, and walked as a prophetess. I am a prophetess. And now the Most High uses me in many ways, which he says is fine for me. And I help many people through his power, or her power, the source power. Now, the Bible, I just wanted to touch on this because this is very important. If we go back to slavery, when we were captive, I mean really captive, there was no freedom. It was on the Sunday that slaves were dressed up, because they were shown off in the church when the slave traders and slave masters went to church, and they gave us the Bible to read, and this was allowed by them. This is the only thing that we was allowed to read. My question has always been, why is it that the slave masters killed you, lynched you, punished you if they caught you reading or writing? If you were trying to learn those things, you were in serious trouble. But they allowed you to read the Bible. So that was my question. If you're not going to allow me to read this or learn to do that, but you're going to allow me the Bible, question it. Why? Why the Bible? Okay, and for me, the Bible has been turned, twisted, translated, transliterated. It's also been tampered with. All right, and it's been used for so long as a control tool. Now, question everything. Question absolutely everything. Everything that is happening in the world is going according to the Bible, because they are making sure it does. It's basically like a handbook. That's what I was told by the Most High. If you want connection with the Most High, you have to build the relationship directly. It's very important. Every one of us have got our own personal connection with the Most High. So it's important to use your intuition when you're reading the Bible. Take bits, use your intuition, and if it doesn't add up, you have to question it.
Do you think going forward, you know, as we go into we ascend into a new dimension, into a new way of living, that we will need to have figureheads like presidents or sovereigns or anything like that? Do you have faith that we can govern ourselves?
I feel at this precise moment, while people are in the 4D state, I would say not 100%, but we have been doing it, to be fair. Kind of. People stayed in quarantine, but didn't make the move. They, to question things. They just did it. Okay. So I feel that we kind of can do it if everyone collectively, there's going to have to be some kind of leader. I feel, just to bring back the group, the whole place, the whole universe. I'm saying, well, it is, because there's other planets, right? And there is life there. So yeah, we are going to need people to govern. But I don't know if it needs to be as heavy as it is. I actually also feel that in our community, there needs to be some inside work done in terms with our youth. I feel as though there's still cracks in our community. I believe that we will vibrate immensely if we fix those cracks. And those are things that have been programs that have been put into our community as well. And every community has been programmed, but I'm talking about the Black community right now. There's too much. There's still a lot of black and black crime, and we need to cut that program. It's ridiculous. Like, we're killing our own, and the rate is astronomical.
It came in from. I'm going to keep names out of it, but there was someone who talked about. This is like late 80s, early 90s, LA. And there was this meeting that they were invited to, all kind of the music people that were invited to. You know about this one?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Where they were, let's say, after the meeting, gangster rap just went and then suddenly the whole mood changed. So like an agreement was made, or like, people were invited in to kind of be part of something, and then the whole mood of what the output was and the messaging, because if I'm sure clear as day, anyone can be, anyone who's of an age can remember when music used to sound so different,
432 kilohertz.
And
the frequency.
They changed it to 440, but
that's
also
right.
Then if you just look at the content of how music was, like up until late 80s anyway, you just listen to that decade of music, when that was kind of the last decade when it was completely clear,
beautiful,
until then we went into 90s, and then where we're at now. And as a musician, I can hear it. So little of what is available musically is played. There are, and I know we've got something like the 12-bar blues, and jazz is based on things, but that, even when you're playing like blues and jazz and things like that, you have people coming in, musicians who are skilled, that will improvise on top of a structure that, although it sounds the same, these tunes sound very different. So you wouldn't know unless you know. But then there is a format of 4 chords, 3 or 4 chords that I could go and list maybe like 50 or 60 songs that are written on there, and they come out and they're the same one, different artists, different things, but it's the same kind of, and knowing like music and knowing chords and dissonance and the chords are very basic, and they don't have that texture and that flavor in them, that if you listen to a jazz piece, or if you listen to one of the people that I've always really liked, her musicality and her band has been Anita Baker, because of the musicality that is based. If you listen to that music, and you can hear every single one of the players in that band just pouring in just sweet stuff, beautiful things. And then if you listen to modern music and the way that that's produced, there's not the musicality there anymore. and it doesn't kind of tingle you in the same way, because sometimes you listen to certain things and you're like, oh, you know, you might as well be sliding into bed or a warm bath,
right?
Whereas now you listen to something and you want to punch somebody.
Yeah, I don't like it. It gives me a headache. I can't listen to any of it. It's just horrendous, the words. And then there's this voice that they put in it, like a robotic voice. I'm just like, that sounds demonic. I'm not, turn it off. You know, they infiltrated the music industry massively. And music is a way of life, you know, for us humans. You know, that's how we deal with our emotions and our memories, and absolutely everything, you know, is music. So they definitely destroyed that for a very long time. Yeah. But that is changing. That I'm seeing some change there. More and more people are making music to 432 kilohertz, which is of love, the infinite, and the 440 is going out of the window now. Nobody wants it, you know. Some do, but I believe that is what's ticking our youth, and making them this kind of very, very boisterous and angry, you know. And
because it is a, you know, anyone who listens to, like you said, solfeggio frequencies as well, but then, or listens to mantra or meditation music or anything like that, these have got a frequency around it that like instantly bring you into a state.
We have to be careful.
The same is with the music. And if not for yourself, if you do have youth around, you just also be cautious of what they're listening to. Or if you can't completely take them away from the dark music, then maybe, you know, just play, you know, like kind of like get them on some vintage tips as well, just to kind of balance it out, you know, and try to erase as these things are slowly being pulled out, because it's like you can see and feel, and then the imaging is so strong, and the, you know, symbolism, that's a completely different 2-hour-long conversation in itself, serious. You know, but these are the things that like you say, the information is there for us to educate and be clear of ourselves now, so that we can see these things when they come up, and it's meant to incite a certain reaction. It'll be like, oh, you're trying that game again. It's like, oh, I know that one. Like, nicely played. But, you know, I can see what you're trying to do here now. We're wising up to it. And it's just getting everybody wiser.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? You know, I want to add to what you just said. You're 100% right. Frequency is key, you know, to the way we to behavior, because the subconscious, it goes into the subconscious, and that's how we conduct our behavior. Through our feelings, emotions, and it being the music being so hard, and these youths, they're playing it when they're asleep. You see, to play music or have the TV on while you're asleep is so bad, because your subconscious, your inner being is taking all of that frequency and all of that information, the words. You know, ever listen to a song and wake up in the morning and you're singing it for the whole day because you've listened to that all night? You know, what I always say to my clients is, play a 432 kilohertz frequency while you're asleep. Your mood will change, you know. But you know, at the moment, not everyone's doing that, you know, but 100%, you know, it's so important, that frequency, and we need to look after our youth. They are the future, and a lot of them are not making it past 20, and I'm so saddened by it, you know. I lost my brother to black and black crime in the year 2000, so I have a really strong feeling and a work to do, you know, to get these youths. And the thing is, it's hard to talk to them, you know. They're just in a space where they don't want to speak to their elders in an appropriate way, the way that we were raised. I know me, I was raised, if I didn't speak properly to an older, I would be in trouble, serious trouble, you know. So we need to kind of get them back in that place. So, I mean, even if we kind of have some parenting groups, because some parents find it hard because, like I said, you know, we were raised by the Windrush, and they just came to England, and they didn't know what they tried their best, and they did their best, you know. But you know, our generation was basically kind of the specimen, you know, off of the Windrush, you see. And it's very important that we instill these old traditions from our ancestors in the children, so that there's respect, you know, and they walk the street with a yearning to succeed, and they don't think of themselves as nothing and end up on the streets selling drugs and doing them and stuff like that. We're losing a lot of our youth, and these things have to be fixed within the community. So I would say we definitely need a leader or a patron in the Black community. I know there's people doing things. There's definitely I've met some people that are doing things, but I think it should be collective, because one person can't do such a big work on their own. You know, it needs to be collected, and that will be the beginning of something huge and great for our people.
Yeah, yeah,
you know?
No, that's necessary. I'm seeing from different sides of the Atlantic, people that are coming forward, and one who are very much about just telling the story of what is going on, so waking people up that way. And everyone's got their different methods, you know, so they will kind of resonate with a different demographic, which is great as well. But then the next step is to, like you say, band together and work out some sort of way of healing, and just allow it, and then also allow it to be messy, you know. I think we're trying to get it right the first time, and we're trying to undo a system that's been in place for longer than many of us have been alive. So just know that we're going towards the same thing. Let people kick and scream and do all the messy bits that it is, but know that we're, you know, and don't fall back into the it's not working, it can't work. Because this is one thing that I heard from a couple of Black women was, oh, it's, you know, it's something we'll never heal from. I'm like, what? No. You can't have that. And it's not the first time I've heard it from a woman of color.
We shall overcome.
Convince themselves that racism that is something that we can't heal from.
We will.
Up until this point, it hasn't been healed, but that's not to say that it won't be. And in order for us to move into the way that the world is going, we can't take any of these wounds with us. They will be the things that will stop us moving forward. We have to let them go. And as justified and as right as we can all tell our stories of how we suffered from racism, how we were pushed back because of certain things people called us, you know, the people that we have lost to this racism system. We have to get past that and forgive and understand that it wasn't us that created it, but we were programmed to perpetuate it.
Right. That's the important thing, because a lot of people don't realize that. You see, they don't realize actually that person was programmed. That person's acting out of the program, you know. People don't realize that. And it's a knowing, but it's getting everyone together and saying, listen, you've been programmed. This is how it's been. This is what happened. This is what they've done. Are we going to be it, or are we going to beat it? You know, and we will beat it. And, you know, I've definitely seen throughout these protests, if nothing else, I've seen unity amongst all colours. It didn't work. Their agenda failed. It didn't work. And that I loved, to see everyone protesting, you know, everyone was coming out and saying, no, that was wrong. They didn't expect that.
No.
You know, they just thought we would go crazy and beat everyone that we saw that was white. And then the white supremacy would retaliate. And then they would, then there'd be an all-out war, black against white. That didn't happen. That's not going to happen, because we know better. Right? We know better. We have to know better and keep spreading it, you know, and letting people know, come on, we are all one in this thing. You know, we've been put here together to live together. Doesn't matter about for a reason. Doesn't matter about colour.
Yeah.
no.
And I think it's just it's taking it back to that. Remember, you're a supreme being and you didn't
Yes.
choose to come here to like live in a world of pain. The reason that all of this is being uncovered now and we have technology, as basic as the technology is, that is allowing us to access the truth and at least connect with each other while we're in semi-quarantine, or depending on what you what your situation is doing, there is light at the end of the tunnel. But also is whatever happens going forward, remember there is a lot of visuals and false situations at play, which is antagonizing people, and it's based on power. It's a power struggle that has got more to do with the power and who's in control as opposed to our individual needs, because these people don't really consider us to be any use to us as individuals. For sure they do.
No, they don't.
It's just things may look like they're getting worse, and the play may look like it's getting worse, and there might be another attack or another event, or there might be aliens might come out of the sky, or and something else. Know that something else is coming. Know that technology is such to the extent that things can be made to look like what they are not, even if you were walking down the street and looking in the sky.
Yeah, there's holograms.
And there's things up there that don't look like it, that may look one way that are not. You've got to think. Imagine for an instance that the sky would be the perfect projection screen.
Yes.
And just, and again, just invite people to just do your research so that you don't get scared when things look like a certain thing. Because then when you see it and you've got a bit of information that relates to that, then it will be like, oh, this is what and it looks so, because it will probably look real as hell.
Yes, because they know they've worked on this thing for years. So they've mastered it all, everything looking as real as possible to the mind, because the mind is actually, our mind is powerful, but it's been used against us. So me personally, I don't use my mind, I go with my spirit, but that's how I teach my clients, how to use their spirit, their gut feeling. Use your chakras. Do not use your mind, because your mind will send you all over the place. And the mind has been programmed, and it keeps being programmed. And you need to know when something isn't good for your mind. Don't watch it. If something doesn't fit, don't listen to it. These things will put you in a state that they have planned to put you in. So I wanted to touch on the actual trauma. How to deal with trauma and fear a little bit more.
Please.
Trauma is something that you experience, the human being reaches when they've been through multiple difficult things in their life, and it's been put to the back, and you may say, I'm fine, but you're not fine, because it's still there. And if that trauma is not dealt with, you can't move forward. It acts as a block. So you can't reach your highest self because that trauma hasn't been dealt with. It's like, I always call it the back burner. You've got the cooker going, you finished cooking on the front, but the two back burners are still on low, very, very low. You can barely see they're on, but they're still going. That's your subconscious, and the front is your conscious, yeah? So we need to finish the back to get the best results, so you reach your higher self and your higher consciousness. So there's a program that I do with dealing with trauma, also dealing with childhood trauma, because whatever you go through as a child will definitely reach you and follow you and affect you as an adult. So we go right back to your childhood state, and we deal with as far back as you can remember, and then we deal from it there, and then you come right the way up to where you are now. And by the time you reach to where you are now, you will be healed. You will be healed. And that healing will just keep healing. It's a process. And you then reach a place, which is where I am, it's taken many years, where you embrace that trauma that you went through, because you know that if you didn't go through these things, you wouldn't be that strong individual where you are now. You know, and once you reach that place, you basically become invincible. You're acting in your higher self and not the self that they want you to be in. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I do quite a lot of that, because I did it for myself, and it was very, very successful.
And it's important work, and you know, I think that's the hard thing for people to do, is go and look at those shadows and deal with how they need to come up. And I'm noticing that I'm seeing people struggle at the moment as well, even within the spiritual community where we have these practices. But what this time is really unveiling is who has actually really done the work, or has used their practice to just bypass situations. We can't bypass anything right now, because it's all coming up from the darkest corners in the world and within ourselves. So in order for us to go forward, we have to deal with it, and we can't keep hiding from it, because it's just going to keep popping up in different corners. And you'll find, the more, talking from experience, the more that you're able to really dig into those real painful things and face them and cry out and get confused and fall on the floor and be in the darkest spots. And then you get to the point of, actually, do you know what? It's made me more resilient. It's made me, like you say, invincible. And then the hardest one probably is then to be able, if it is someone that has done something to you that's caused that pain, be able to understand them and forgive them, and even thank them for the role that they played in creating that situation for you.
I just embrace everything I went through, and I've been through a lot. You know, people that know me are like, I don't know how you're still standing, and how you, and I'm like, I don't, but I do now. You know, I do now. I didn't before, because I was in trauma, you know, going through the motions. But now that I have actually made it through, I know that, you know, it was anyone can make it through. If I can make it through, anyone, absolutely everyone will make it through. And the thing is, if it's not dealt with, you can't, you'll get stuck in the 4D. You can't vibrate at the 5D, at the fifth dimension. You can't, unless those things are addressed. So it's very important that it's dealt with. I've got some people that I'm doing it with at the moment. It's funny, because people have started coming for that particular thing, rather than the other things at the moment. So that's definitely the universe, you know, sending them forward to get that healing for that. So yeah, it must be done. Yeah.
And it's freedom on the other side. It's freedom on the other side of it, and knowing yourself from a different position. You know, it's just coming back into a stronger, clearer version of yourself that you can, it's just available on the other side. And honestly, going through it is painful, but it's the journey is worth it, and it can't kill you. It cannot. Staying in the pain will cause more pain.
That's right.
But moving forward will create a different version of you that is unbelievable.
It's amazing. You know, you wake up every day, so much gratitude for being awake and alive. You know, this is a great time to be alive, actually, and to witness and be involved in all these things and changes that are happening. People may feel that they're feeling a lot of fear. There's a lot of people that are carrying so much fear that they're not actually realizing that they're a part of history. You know, this is historical, what is happening. You know,
people will talk about this for centuries to come.
Yes, we will.
anyone who knows you, like, you know, they'll be coming back to you like 50, 60 years going, Grandma, what happened? Where are you? And, you know, you'll be able to tell it but we're in the center of it now. And it feels like the worst thing, but this is the collective uncovering of the wound. And then it feels messy, but you know, it's
a rebirth. We're all we're all in the middle of birth. It's rebirth. We're being reborn into a new time, the golden age. You know, this is the golden age. It's gonna be beautiful. It is. So just push through. We just gotta push through. We're doing it.
It's going to be all good. And Lee, I'm going to ask you these her conversation questions as well, because I like to hear.
Okay.
So the first one I always ask my female guests. Well, all of my guests have been female up until this point, even though I'm realizing I'm going to make some changes at some point as well. So I'm not just stuck in her being about the woman. So let that be known. Anyway, so what was the best piece of advice a woman has ever given to you?
Okay. I would say my mother. I've got two people, my mother and my auntie.
Mm-hmm.
My aunt in LA, I'm very close to, right? She said, always be yourself and always live your truth. And there is only one infinite one, only one God. And she believed me when no one else did. When everyone thought I was going cuckoo, that was me being awakened. she just completely understood, you know. So she said, live your truth, always live your truth, and there is only one God. And just always live your truth. Don't let anyone take you away from living your own truth.
Mm.
And my mother said, which always sticks with me, is never ever watch what someone has, because you don't know what they've done to get it. And to this day, I'm just like that. I haven't got time to be watching people or what they're doing or be envious of this person, because everyone's got their own journey, right? And we're all individual and we're all important and we're all a part of that big jigsaw, you know. So I don't have time to watch other people. I have to concentrate on myself, you know, and not be envious and nothing. Just I have to concentrate on my journey, my life purpose. Very important to me.
Amazing. And maybe a controversial question.
We've had loads of those.
Anyway, so what woman represents higher energetic resonance to you?
Okay, right. I had a few. I had one, but that's no longer they. Because I've obviously, I know some stuff and I cannot put that person on that in that place. I'm going to say the spirit. I'm going to say the spirit, because the great spirit, people call it the Holy Spirit or you know, that spirit is a feminine spirit. And I'm going to go with that because that's where I go for everything. I don't go to a female woman for anything, you know. I long gone those days.
And it kind of ties into what you said before of, like, you know, just you never know what someone has done to get the things that they got.
Right, you know, that's right. So, you know, I have my own way of thinking and my own way of living. So it's very difficult for me to look up to anyone, because I'm just a spiritual being in that living in human experience. It's like, unless I really kind of tap into them and I can find that real goodness, then I'm not going to look up to them in that way. But do I admire women? I admire the woman that is working hard, you know, to make in her life purpose, and to do her part for the universe. You know, I admire every woman that is doing that, because it hasn't always been easy for us to do that. So, and also to parent as well, on top of doing that, is not, because I do all of those things by myself. So, you know, anyone that does it, I respect them.
Perfect. So you have all of these things going on. So what are your favorite self-care rituals and practices? How do you take time for you?
Okay. I like my spiritual baths. That's when I really connect to Great Spirit, in the bath. Anytime I'm in water, I just really connect. And meditation, I go into my little zone. I've got my little quiet place where I meditate. When I'm doing energy work as well, when I'm doing all energy work, some of it is for me, you know, and that is looking after myself. You know, I have to look after myself. Who's going to do it if I don't?
Beautiful. And so what's coming up for you next? What have you got in terms of, you got courses, offerings, programs? Like, let us know everything.
Okay. I've got programs at the moment. I'm doing the trauma and helping people to get from the 4D chaos into the 5D, reaching their higher self. Okay. Also helping people to see beyond the 3D, knowing what is truth, what is their life purpose. So I'm doing a lot of that kind of work at the moment. I'm doing a lot of healing, because there's so much fear and fear out there. So I've been working with a lot of people that are dealing with that, bringing them through that. I've got doing back-to-back readings. I'm wanting to arrange a very big seminar where I can speak and do random readings. When I say readings, I do channel readings. I do pull tarots, but I don't need to, but people like them, so I do it, and it normally confirms what I've picked up through channeling anyway. I'm going to write 2 books. One will be my life story and one will be my spiritual journey. I want to go to Bali, and I would like to go to Africa. I want to spend some time in both places. In the bigger picture of what I want to do is open up shelters around the third world countries, mainly for abused women and special needs children. The facilities in some countries, a lot of the countries do not have the facilities for these areas. So that's my bigger picture of what I want to do, opening up units and schools for the kids. And I want to go back to India and finish my orphanage. I have one there, so yeah.
Do you? Where is it? Where is it in India?
It's in Vijayawada, which comes under Hyderabad.
Where's that?
So, South India.
Okay, I've not done South yet.
Yeah, Andhra Pradesh. Yeah, it's quite. It's big, but it's not the biggest part of India. It's a very, very poor part of India. So I went there in 2017, just on a whim, on my own, and opened up an orphanage with 5 children. So I need to complete that on a wider scale. Yeah, that's another thing that I'm doing, and open up more branches as well of Andrew's Healing Hand of Light. I want to put one in the States, one in Canada, and one in Jamaica.
Yeah, man.
And I'm looking for readers at some point. I'll start looking for people to help me. Yeah.
What a beautiful vision. Wow.
Thank you.
So just can you let everybody know where to find you online, like your website, social media, anything you want to share?
Yeah, sure. You can find me on Facebook under Andrea Daniel and Andrea's Healing Hand of Light. And you can find me on Instagram under Andrea's Healing Hand of Light and Andrea the Lioness. And I have a website. Please feel free to join up. And that's www.andreashealinghandoflight.com. I look forward to seeing everyone there. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you to Andrea for joining me on this week's episode of Her Conversations, and thank you for listening. You can find out more about me on my website, carolmaewhittick.com, carolmaewhittick.com. You can also follow me on Facebook under the same name, and also I'm on Twitter and Instagram under Kazmic, that's Cazmick. Until the next episode and next week, have a good one. Thank you for listening.